have you ever thought that most decisions in your life are influenced by something almost invisible? A fear you rarely mention or notice, yet it quietly accompanies you like a silent companion. Why do you hesitate when considering quitting your job, leaving a relationship, or simply speaking your true feelings? Why does the thought of starting over weigh heavily on your chest, making your breath shallow and your stomach tighten? Could it be that beneath these small worries lies a huge but overlooked fear? The fear of death. But here, we're not just talking about physical death. Carl Jung, one of the founding minds of depth psychology, suggested that the death humans fear most is not the end of breath, but psychological death, the dissolution of the ego, the loss of certainty and safety, the small deaths of old habits, of the person we were or thought we had to be. Jung believed that the fear of death is actually the fear of living unconsciously, the fear of facing the darkness within ourselves, the fear of stepping outside the familiar, and the paralysis in front of the unknown. We are taught to cling to what is familiar to survive, but that very clinging causes us to miss true growth. So what happens when this fear controls your life? You begin to live to avoid loss instead of to experience. You choose safety over authenticity. Bit by bit, you shrink your life, thinking you're protecting yourself, but in truth, you're losing the chance to become the person you were born to be. Think back a little. Most of us aren't just introduced to death, but warned about it from an early age. Before age 5, you likely heard, "Don't do that, you'll get hurt. Be careful, it's dangerous." Every scrape on your knee, every fairy tale where the villain meets a tragic end, every whisper at a funeral, all silently imprint on your nervous system. Death isn't clearly explained, it's avoided, mourned, and feared. From these small pieces, we form an unconscious map. Avoid pain, avoid endings, avoid change. Over time, this becomes part of what psychology calls death anxiety. Anthropologist Ernest Becker, in The Denial of Death, argued that much of human behavior, desire for fame, legacy, routines, even moral proving, is an attempt to escape death symbolically, to feel valuable, meaningful, and in control of the uncontrollable. Carl Jung took it further. He believed this fear lurks in the shadows, the parts of ourselves we deny or ignore. For Jung, death isn't an end, but a necessary transformation on the journey to becoming oneself. But instead of embracing this cycle, most of us resist. We've been taught that death equals loss, loss of control, identity, self. Resisting death means resisting our own evolution. Interestingly, not every culture views death as a tragedy to avoid. In Mexico, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, is a vibrant festival where people gather to celebrate, sing, offer, and tell stories to honor the deceased. In many parts of Asia and Africa, death is seen as a transition, not an end. Ancestors are honored, memories preserved, souls welcomed back, not erased. These traditions hold deep wisdom we seem to have forgotten. Fearing death doesn't stop it. Instead, it shrinks our lives, avoiding risks, deep love, career changes, inner reflection. Ironically, this shrinking life is the slowest death of all. If you watch closely, every major life event, a breakup, a move, a career shift, a collapse or breakthrough, feels like a death. It's the end of a phase, an old version of yourself, outdated beliefs or habits. Jung called these moments psychic deaths, necessary ego collapses to make way for a truer self. But when we fear these small deaths, we cling to the old, even when it's cramped and no longer fits. As a result, we stay in emotionally paralyzing relationships, repeat safe but soulless habits, and silence ourselves to keep the peace, all because the unknown terrifies us more than a diminished life. Notably, fear of change is not only emotional, but embodied. Our brain's amygdala reacts to ego death almost like a life-threatening danger. The nervous system can't tell the difference between facing a predator and letting go of an old self. That's why change feels like dying. So what can we do to break free from this unconscious fear controlling us? How do we stop it from limiting growth and shrinking our lives? Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists and grows." Meaning, when we deny fear of endings, change, and ego collapse, we don't escape it, we nourish it silently every day. We do this unconsciously, clinging to habits, achievements, or constant busyness to avoid facing the real question, why am I doing this? Jung introduced a key concept, the shadow, all we deny in ourselves, hidden desires, silent fears we don't want seen. Deep in that shadow lies the fear of death, not just physical death, but many small deaths. Fear of being forgotten, losing control, starting over, being fully seen. Modern culture urges positivity, success, perfection, but rarely accepts roughness, fragility, uncertainty. So we hide true feelings and call it strength, stay busy and call it purpose, stay silent and call it peace. But these are masks blocking us from our truest selves. We unconsciously cling to certainty, choosing stable jobs over passionate ones, familiar relationships over challenging growth, right? Locking ourselves into roles like the kind one, the smart one, the helper, because shedding these roles feels like dying. But true life demands continual death and rebirth, letting go of old versions to reveal the authentic self. This scares us because the shadow holds truth. Once you enter it, you're never the same. Yet if you don't enter, you never truly live. Comfort zones feel like cozy cocoons. We reassure ourselves, better the bad I know than the unknown. That's the voice of death fear, the ego avoiding uncertainty at all costs, because the unknown means endings, and the familiar means stasis, even if empty and stuck. We often mistake comfort for safety. Comfort says, stay put, don't stir things up. Growth says, this version of you is expired, let it go. Modern society even rewards avoidance. Midlife crisis, buy a new car. Feeling lost, post a perfect photo. Afraid of change, optimize your schedule. All ways to control the uncontrollable. And we become paralyzed to what truly means fear. Facing fear of death means admitting I can't control everything. The paradox is this admission brings freedom. When we realize all is temporary, a profound shift occurs inside. We stop clinging to the past, but many live in doubt and distrust. They ask, am I worthy? Will this really come to me? These doubts build invisible barriers, blocking opportunities. Attraction doesn't come from desperate craving, but from aligning your frequency with your desires. When you believe, act, and live as if your dreams are real, you send a powerful signal, and the universe answers. Look back on your blessings. You'll notice they often came when you least clung. That's when you relax. Keep working hard, but don't force results. Faith combined with action is the catalyst turning the invisible into reality. Instead of worrying about when or how, focus on becoming your best self. Nourish your mind, heart, and energy. When you change inside, things outside begin to shift. The universe never misses a signal. When you're ready, what you seek will find you. Right time, right place, often unexpectedly. So keep your heart open, your mind clear, and your hands ready to receive. What belongs to you will find you. And when it does, you'll realize every weight, challenge, and step was worth it. Accepting death not as a tragic end, but an essential part of life, opens a new door. The door to true freedom. You no longer live in fear, clutching everything tightly, afraid change will shatter your long-built self. Carl Jung called this process individuation, becoming whole, accepting all hidden parts, including fear of death. Those who complete this no longer live by default, don't need others' approval, and aren't obsessed